Welcome back to the Style Podcast. Kendra Akers is joining us today, and we've been talking about all the great things that Style has done over the last 20 years. What do you think your favorite article, your favorite topic that you guys have talked about in Style Magazine has been?
A lot. There's been a lot.
There's been a lot.
So many great ones.
You know, I get that question sometimes, and I have not yet been able to surpass the one that we did in 2012 with human trafficking, just because it was so impactful. And at that point in time, there was no mention of human trafficking anywhere. And Style Magazine is a magazine that highlights the good parts of Lake and Sumter, at least at that time, before we really started diving into deeper issues. And, you know, as a publisher of a publication that has such a good following, such a far reach, I had learned that human trafficking was, that Lake and Sumter County had the number, like Central Florida was number 2 in the nation for human trafficking cases in 2012. And when I heard that, I mean, I had known a little bit about human trafficking, but that just blew me away. And the more I looked into it, I felt obligated to really bring that to light. And at the time, I brought it to my team, and they, you know, our goal was to always highlight the best things about Lake and Sumter County, and they were absolutely not. We're not going to do that. We shouldn't do that. And I said, but we have to. It's our responsibility, because we are a publication for our residents, and people's children are at risk. You know, it's awareness. They need to know what's happening in our community.
Right.
So I will never forget, we put our daughter Aubrey on the cover of that issue. And when we were doing the photo shoot, I literally I teared up because it was so...
Makes me tear up. It does, because
well, you see your daughter in shackles
right.
and everything else, and you just can envision what people literally are going through.
That was a powerful cover. I remember that cover.
I got chills now just
me
thinking about
too.
it.
And it's a horrific topic, but at the same time, you're not wrong.
We all have
never discussed. It wasn't, and now it is. But you had to have somebody be the catalyst too. And Central Florida, who would ever think that?
You know how many task force were developed after that story run? I actually had a judge in Miami send me a letter thanking me for publishing that. And I can tell you, our sales team, when that cover came out and they saw it, they were like, we're done. This is not what we're about. This is just not the way. And sure enough, it exploded. You know, Lake County Sheriff's Office put together a task force. I don't want to say it was specifically because of that, but it definitely happened right after that.
But you did identify a lot of the stuff. Like we didn't. How many times do you drive past the little hub area, because there's so many major highways that intersect here in Lake and Sumter counties between the Turnpike and the I-75?
Yes.
And we drive past those every day, but do we really know what's going on in there? Because we don't drive trucks. We don't go in there. We don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
we
scary.
don't get in that area. So when you bring light to that, it's like, wow.
Well, I also think, and I stand by this now, in the words of my great friend Mike Carter, who has taught me so much over the last few years, he always says, Shayna, you can't just tell people things. Right, you have to show them.
Absolutely.
And until they see it, it needed to be covered.
Yes.
It needed to be covered.
And we've done a couple, follow-ups to that, but thank goodness now, human trafficking, the awareness, I always say you shine the light on something, and that's when action happens. People really pay attention to it. And luckily, it's still an issue throughout the whole world.
It is.
But people are aware of it, and they can identify it, they look for it. So that is one that I will always say would probably be my very favorite. Just because of the impact that it had on it. And that was a catalyst to us covering more important topics, not just the fluff, not just the, hey, everybody's perfect and happy. We've covered important topics like the water issue here in Lake and Sumter counties. We've talked about homelessness. We've talked about drug abuse. I mean, lots of topics. Our most recent one was the unprepared how we're unprepared for the growth that's coming here to Lake and Sumter County and what is being done. So yeah, I mean, that catapulted my passion for what our publication and what our company is supposed to do. So